we were having a bit of a technical difficulty. Johnny will be joining us in just a moment. That's the sound of me talking and vamping at the same time. I love running my own tech stuff behind the scenes. It's always a joy. So hi everybody, as we settle into that. And like I said, Johnny Million will be joining us in just a moment. But over the course of the last year, we've seen not only the rise of the anti-vaxxer crowd, we've seen a rise of, the remnant Tea Partiers, although the idea that the budget means anything was thrown out the window with Trump's $2.6 trillion military budget during peacetime. It's quite obvious to anyone that, any remnants of fiscal conservatism are a joke, that they never really meant it, but now they've just given up on the entire charade. And as we look at the party going forward and what it means to have a legit discussion between people with genuine conservative values and people with genuine liberal values, genuine progressive values, and I suppose what's the equivalent on the right wing? Genuine white supremacist psychosis. I don't know where the root of that lands. But I think few things boil what's left of the Republican Party down to the reality that they find themselves in better than a Daily Beast article that just came out about an indictment that was, unshielded. They just released it, that a QAnon supporter crashed into an Army Reserve base and threatened to unleash a, quote, crazy, stupid plan, whereupon he rolled up on it. He had weapons at home. We'll get to how they know that in a moment. And we'll take a break. But all you need to know is that this fella, with Q's painted all over his car, and an absolute fealty to Donald Trump, whose latest act his first official act in his post-presidency, after setting up the office of the former president and not calling it former, is giving all the staff at Mar-a-Lago COVID. That seems to be that's his first big move. After that, they have news reports now that they are having to partially shut down the services at Mar-a-Lago because many of the staff have contracted COVID. They have a COVID outbreak there. It should be no surprise that Mar-a-Lago is effectively the super spreader, golf club of the nation. Let's take a break. When we come back, I'll hopefully solve the tech issue that I'm dealing with, and I want to dive into this story because it's indicative of what's left of the Republican Party. You want to wonder who Ted Cruz is posturing for, who Josh Hawley is posturing for. Who in the world are they trying to convince with their argument? It's a guy who rolled up at a military base in Wisconsin with a paintball gun and fired it at, well, wait till you hear what he said after his gun jammed. We'll be back. Okay. Hi, everybody. Hi, chat room. I'm going to try and get Johnny back in here, and I hope I won't be looping it back in. Join me again. Whoops. I have the caps lock on this keyboard is crazy. Okay, there we go. And hopefully the co-host one that I'm sending him doesn't loop back. We'll turn the Safari one off. Yep, there he comes. Hey, it's online. I can't believe it. And it's actually working, I think.
Yay.
Yay, now it's working. Okay, that was... Whew. When you got 3 browsers open at any given time, because each one has to have its own individual source, and one of them decides to give up the ghost, that's fun. And hi, chat room, by the way. Thanks for hanging out with us. I'll pop in the chat while we're sitting here. And I don't know if you got to hear any of the story that I was talking about, Johnny. I'm going to
20.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to send it to you right now.
Okay.
Via text. There we go. This is, I actually read the legal brief about this dude. Let's see if we can.
Oh my.
Oh, indeed.
Now let's get back with Hellspark's radio program, Mega Worldwide.
So there's this fella named Ian Allen Olson. Johnny, welcome to the show. How are you? Good to see
Hi,
you.
I'm doing
Everybody
great.
to the Hellspark radio program, Mega Worldwide. We're now kind of up and running. I'm in Kentucky visiting family, and I'm literally experiencing the first shoots of spring in terms of getting out of COVID, in that my son is finally getting to see his grandparents for the first time in a year. It's extraordinary, and almost to the day when we had the lockdown too. So,
and how is everybody?
They're doing great. You know what I mean? It's the same. It's always the conversation when it comes to, grandparents. At this point, it's half of it's medical procedures and the other's what's for dinner. You know what I mean? That's how it goes in that kind of age range, which is completely respectable. It's what I would talk about.
I feel distressingly close to that age range.
Right. So this is the Daily Beast article on it. The QAnon supporter crashed Army Reserve base after threatening to unleash, quote, crazy stupid plan. This guy's an AR-15 owning QAnon acolyte caught with armor-piercing bullets, drove from Wisconsin to Washington, D.C.
Wisconsin. This is a heck of an opening sentence.
Yeah. And he said, in terms of that, and by the way, this guy saying he was driving onto the base. Olson got out of the vehicle. By the way, this is after he was there for the 6th. He was a participant.
Of course.
Came back to Wisconsin, figured it just really hadn't done its job, and therefore decided that he was going to, trust the plan to the next level. So this guy driving onto the base, Olson got out of the vehicle, shouted, "This is for America."
There you go.
And then fired
and
then fired an AR-15 style paintball gun. You heard that right. Yeah.
Oh no.
At 2 uniformed reservists standing about 15 yards away.
Is he dead now?
No. Reported Justin Rollrick. After allegedly shooting 2 to 3 rounds at the soldiers. I mean, this is classic Q crowd. Olson's paintball gun apparently jammed. I mean, this is why we can't have nice things.
If this guy were a person of color, he would be so dead.
Oh yeah, he'd been perforated. At that point, the reservists, one of whom was described as law enforcement officer in civilian life, tackled Olson and held him for police. By the way, the 3 rounds fell short of hitting people 15 feet away. So this moron peppers the ground with 3. He gets 3 paintball shots out before it jams. That's what you never go for the fancy one. When you're playing paintball, go for the tried and true. You do not mess around with stuff that's supposed to look like real ones, because it'll never work and you'll always be, anyways. So
he drove from Wisconsin for that.
Yeah. And the law enforcement
and with Biden's gas prices.
Yeah, I know. Crazy, right? According to prosecutors, his car was searched, revealing, quote, a gas mask, throwing knives, of course, because he probably thinks he's a ninja. That part's fun.
Knives.
A police scanner, 2-way radios, a taser, and a military-style ballistic vest plates, which, by the way, he was saying he was only going to put a plate in the back because he didn't want the bullets to go through him and hit civilians, but he wasn't afraid to die. This is what he was saying. He was willing to...
not afraid for him to die either.
But this is the important part, and this is the part that reaches into the Trump world and the Rudy Giuliani world and all this BS we've been hearing over the last year of this dude, was that per the report, just weeks before, Olson drove to Washington, D.C. and proclaimed to Capitol police officers that he would, quote, test the National Guard tomorrow to see if they were loyal to the people or to the president. And this is, remember, Biden's already president at this point. He's not, he's not. And it's interesting that this guy is saying the president and doesn't mean Trump, because a lot of these people believe that he's still in charge, right? He's running stuff from Mar-a-Lago. And that he was willing to die to fulfill his mission, and his actions, quote, would unite 8 billion people.
Oh, 8 billion.
The whole world would unite behind the actions.
Earth 1 and Earth 2.
Yeah, exactly. In his mind, if he was shot, it would prove the guards' loyalty to Biden, and if not, their loyalty to the people. So clearly, by not murdering him, they were loyal to the people.
To the people, yeah. I feel better.
They were trusting the plan when they decided not to shoot him to death, for firing 3 paintball guns. Now, after, by the way, my favorite part, there's a lot to this, but my favorite part of the story overall has to be, and I don't know why this comes out. I mean, a lot's going through your mind when you're doing something that extraordinary. He manages to get 3 shots off. And he was apparently, when he was tackled by the reservists, he was fidgeting with his gun trying to fix it. And he says, he literally was quoted as saying, "You're lucky it jammed." I don't know what. It's a paintball gun. It's a paintball gun. Now, maybe we'll find out later that he injected some of the balls with, he had pepper balls in there, or that he had injected some of them with,
There's nothing worse than pepper balls, by the way.
Things he believed that, yeah, exactly.
It really stings.
Yeah, we went to the same high school. So it like this guy showing up there, firing 3 paintballs at these guys, and effectively trying to commit death by cop or death by soldier, which is really what it sounds like, was he was going to test them. If they kill him dead, he would die as a martyr for Donald Trump and QAnon. And if they didn't, it meant that Trump was still president and these guys were on the team.
It's a total win-win.
Yeah. Well, that's what he believed. That's what this guy thought, he was basically trying to call Trump's bluff or God's bluff. I mean, essentially, that's what most, religious martyrs are
Brad
doing.
In the chat said, "Your dry cleaners are lucky the gun jammed."
Yeah, exactly. I'm not quite sure why he thought that was a threat, but I mean, poor guy's clearly a lunatic. The pictures of his car that are in the indictment is just he spray painted a giant Q on the hood and a giant Q on all the doors. It's a 4-door, because he's a family man. And so it's on all 4 doors. And then he's got Wiggy Wagga, put on the back, the "where we go one, we go all" thing across the back. And then OMWDC, on my way, or OMW to DC, on my way to DC. As a spray on bumper sticker. And I got you. I will fix that. Thank you very much, Johnny. For me, and I think for a lot of people that are experiencing, I see what I can do. I'll do it in here. That's good. This guy would just be a run-of-the-mill lunatic. You know what I mean? But this guy, the shooter down in Georgia, they both have a life as lunatics in their own right. In any other universe, there's someone who might show up in our natural order of things.
I can be a lunatic anywhere.
Yeah, but
I've been thrown out of better places than this.
Right. The baseline, and this is kind of what we're seeing in a lot of these things, and is that there's a sort of workplace / school shooter version of these guys everywhere, right? The difference is that Donald Trump wholesale gave people like this marching orders or the freedom to believe they have the right to do this. That through Trump's absolute dehumanizing of Asian people during his presidency, And then this guy, this belief that these guys were soldiers of Trump and the MAGA movement and helping Trump fight the giant pedivore cabal, that these are the kind of people who have believed ridiculous conspiracy theories over the years, but have never really, they might be your annoying uncle. They might be a little off their rocker. They might, 1 out of 1,000 of these people might have once every 10 years pulled off something like this. But the increasing number of these, including, from January 6th and going forward and the ongoing threats about it, are because of Trump's actions and because of his support structure, Rudy Giuliani and everybody at OAN and Newsmax and all the religious people that are supporting him are basically giving these guys permission. There is I've always said that like allergies are kind of like bad health overflowing, that if your health's in order, you might have allergies, but the symptoms won't get egregious. You won't even know you're allergic to something until other stuff stacks on top of it. Then it's like, foam on a beer coming over the side, right? That's the idea, that it fills the glass up with toxins so much that finally you see symptoms. That happens a lot in people's health. The same thing is true with the toxicity of the Trump presidency, that it raised the toxicity of the country so much and around a certain type of person that they all felt free to just foam over the side, that they are finally, being set free in that regard. And that 20 to 30% that might have been in the back of their brain, like, I shouldn't try this because I'm going to get shot or go to jail, they effectively believe they've been given permission. And this guy, which they just, released the indictment so people could read it, and it is, dude, it's a Making a Murderer Netflix series waiting to happen. Just like the story of this idiot deciding to fire 3 paintball shots at 2 reservists standing outside a National Guard post in Wisconsin, and the ensuing monologue he gave to the cops. It was like I don't know. It's like the Unabomber's manifesto if it was written in crayon, right? It's the beyond the idiot version of the of the Unabomber manifesto. He's just spouting like half truths and chunks of QAnon theory mixed with his own belief, because the difference,
kind of like when a troll calls and just keeps interrupting their own ideas.
Yeah, we got to take a break. But the one thing that stuck out about this guy was, we've heard trust the plan from the QAnons all the time, right? Trust the plan, trust the plan. They keep throwing this up or whatever. And then Trump didn't become president, and suddenly they're questioning the plan. Then the next one's good. This guy had, and this is kind of crucial, trust my plan. And that's where it is getting to become homegrown and getting very concerning, because lone wolves are often a problem in every country, but in our country as well, and to an egregious amount. If a significant number of these people shift from, I'm not taking my cues, the Lord's talking to me personally, that's a very dangerous place to be. We'll be back.
So handy.
It's the House Sparks radio program, mega worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. It's the 45th anniversary of Destroyer this week, by the way.
Nice. 45 years ago. Holy guacamole.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I really enjoy that remix.
You mean the remastering or whatever? Or
well, they got Bob Ezrin to remix it when they remastered it for maybe the 40th a few years ago.
Yes.
I think it's called Resurrected.
Yes.
I just listened to it like closely in headphones again the other day, and it really pops. And what's funny is so many times I'll listen to something now that I've listened to since I was a kid, and my most casual equipment is 1,000 times better than my best equipment was when I ingested it.
Yeah.
So I keep hearing all these things like, was that always there? How am I just now hearing, like, especially Love Gun? That production's way deeper than you think. Oh my
God, there's like 900 guitars doing that trill out at the end.
Yeah, and there's all these little acoustic guitars and stuff, like under Got Love for Sale. And I love Gene's songs on that record.
Yeah, because you hear what they heard in the studio.
Yeah, and like Almost Human is insane.
Hey, Hal and friends, they arrested a Florida Republican state senator for voting illegally. I just joined a group called Dump Trump Rally. Lots of tidbits, more Republican cheating. That's fascinating, Deborah. I need to look that up real quick. Hold on. I will.
Where'd you get that? I don't see that on the YouTube one.
Oh, it's on the chat that was overlaid here. It's
okay.
It's in the Restream chat. I feel like I should send you like a. How do I send you?
I can see the Restream chat, but I try to only have the YouTube one open because that's when I can respond to.
Gotcha. Yeah. So that's good. Okay. So you can see it in there. All right.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right.
So much fun.
Yeah. There's so much stuff. All right. So let me see. Let's see.
Coming back in 20.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
This is Doris Davenport, host of The Doris Davenport Show, all local, all the time. Now let's get back to Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Welcome back to the show. 773-763-9278 is our number. Of course, the Biden administration has sent out folks including Jill Biden and others across the country to not just sell the Recovery Act, which is passed and is going to be crucial to a lot of people, restarting the economy for themselves across the country. But I think a lot of people have been putting the idea on the selling part of it. I've heard that mostly in the news, that they're trying to push the bill or that they're trying to sell the bill to the public or whatever, which is almost like an old form view of looking at what you do after you pass a bill that's not a budgetary bill or a rescue package, for example, but something that was more socially driven or something along those lines. Mm-hmm. When in reality, it seems more like an instruction manual. It seems like they are touring the country, essentially telling people, look, this is who qualifies, check and see. This is how you check and see. We're going to give a speech, but after we're done, there are going to be people here that you can talk to that will help you sign up for the loans that you are, that are available to you. If you, and to, school teachers and the like, to make sure that they're getting enough PPE that they can get to the front of this, which is very different from the just kind of like a pat yourself on the back tour, right? Right. Now, overall, we are, like I said, I'm experiencing a bit of green shoots currently while I'm in, here in Kentucky visiting the family for the first time in a year. And it's a fairly lovely thing to be able to just kind of have that sense of normalcy again. And more people are starting to experience that. And there's a quickening on it that's not just because people can see a light at the end of the tunnel, but that there actually is, that the case rates and death rates are going down across the country. Everywhere. It's kind of like post 9/11 in that right now, Illinois, California, other states are still in what they call a very high risk, but they were an extremely high risk. Now it's the cautiously very high risk because there's a don't know what we don't know part of this, which is we don't know if we don't have enough testing in certain places, we can't tell if there's if there are variants going around and the like. And the places where they are seeing major spikes, it's places like New York City and New Jersey where more international travel is starting up again, and those variants are showing up. And it's before people have gotten a chance to get vaccinated. Thankfully, the rise in hospitalizations is not matched with an equal rise in deaths. So both treatment and the fact that people the treatments that they have essentially set up over the last year and started working on do seem to work evenly with the variants. That there's not something egregiously worse about these variants. It is. I mean, there's still a lot of scientific outliers. There's still a lot, that we don't know. And that's where the cautiously optimistic side of me, I'm looking forward to this, but I know that there are the red staters out there who just are refusing to continue wearing masks. I'm in Kentucky. We're on the road from central and northern Kentucky day before yesterday. And we stop at a Walgreens to, run and get a few things. And I'm like, everybody else stays in the car and I just do the trip.
In Kentucky?
Yep. And I have my mask on and I go inside and there's like 4 people there, and the people who work behind the cashier, they've all got masks on, and in strides 2 people that I would have gone to elementary school with, effectively, like straight up, deep trail rednecks. Yeah. Just, I know these folks. Like, I used to play with those kind of kids when I was a kid. I know who this guy is, and he's got his son in tow, and they're both steel-eyeing everybody. They're not wearing masks. They don't care to. And that's why we have a very high instead of a high risk in most of these areas. Not because the disease is spreading like it was during the genuine very high part. It's because there's a big swath of the populace, driven largely, again, by the Trump crowd, that simply, views masks as political, won't shield themselves. And what comes out in the last 24 hours is that Trump's club, Mar-a-Lago, is partially closed after the staff is infected with COVID. This is from the Washington Post. Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago club in Florida has been partially closed after some of its employees were infected with coronavirus, according to an email sent to club members Friday afternoon. As some of our staff have recently tested positive for COVID-19, we will be temporarily suspending service at the beach club and a la carte dining room, club management said, according to an email obtained by the Washington Post. Banquet and event services remain open.
Yeah, they do.
Now, the a la carte dining room, it's the buffet. It's a buffet. Stop trying to fancy up something that is a mid-level Ramada style buffet. It's not good. It's a lot of cold meats that should be hot and hot sauces that should be cold. It's a lot of cold cuts and sweet pickles, that have been let to dry over time. It's everybody sharing the mustard dip as they walk by, because why not? It's awful. And you just know it. You can see from the pictures that are there. We've all been to one of those situations. You ever been to one of those situations, Johnny, where you're like, technically, considering where we are, this should be nice.
Yes.
You know what I mean? This should be of quality.
Why do I feel let down right now?
It really is not good. Well, you can tell from all the pictures at Mar-a-Lago, and you can tell, in a lot of ways how, Frank Artile, by the way, somebody in the chat room was saying that. I brought that up. I'm going to discuss that in just a minute. They arrested a former Florida state senator for voting illegally. In the sweep to find voter fraud, apparently Republicans are only finding Republicans who've committed voter fraud. It's brutal. So
because they're so desperate, they know they're going to lose.
Exactly. And again, in Florida, why should we be surprised? Lee Lipton, a member of the club, said he received a phone call Friday saying his dinner reservations were canceled for Friday and Saturday. Dude eats there 2 times a week in a row. But they said the car show was going on Sunday and the hotel rooms are fine. Are they, though? The partial closure of the club was first reported by the AP. Palm Beach County, which includes the club, still requires all guests wear masks except while, quote, actively consuming food and beverage, which is, is there a place in that place where you're not doing that? Isn't it basically a snacking orgy? Isn't that what Mar-a-Lago is? It's golf and it's a snack orgy. It's just just walking around table to table, stuffing your face with, with cold cuts and potato salad. 2 people familiar with the club said Mar-a-Lago waiters wore masks during the events that they had there. But Trump did not when he came, and I think many people have already seen the footage of him coming out to the dog charity. That it turns out that he and Laura Trump were funneling money from it into the properties. Basically, that the dog charity they were running, like every other charity they run, is really just it's a marketing scheme to bring people to their properties. We're having a fundraiser to raise money for our dog charity at our place. Tickets for it are $1,200, and then they bill the charity for $1,150 of that.
Yeah.
Right. That's how it's done. That's what they're talking about over the year. And it was going on. They've been doing that since before Laura ran it. They just put her in charge of it because they knew she could be trusted to keep it quiet. Unfortunately, somebody bothered to look at the books. But this is, I mean, it's not shocking at all. But it is precisely why it is. As people watch the numbers start to go down and certain numbers start to go up, we are seeing an ongoing issue with a sort of we have not, the cases, while they've tapered off from the peak, have not tapered off from the norm. They are kind of humming along. And the reason they are is because, as I've said before, the big cities are getting it under control. And then the red states who have been blowing it off are seeing these waves and ignoring them. And of course, Texas is opening up and Florida is opening up and the like, will continue to make their local cases rise as they go down in other places where vaccinations are higher and people are taking more precautions or maintaining their precautions during this period. So the math works out to basically this humping line that just goes on and on and on for the foreseeable future, which, since it's really frustrating because national policy is dictated by national statistics. They're not state-to-state statistics in a lot of ways. They have to do with, and it's sort of like a version of what California goes through. While Los Angeles and San Francisco and San Diego may end up getting their cases together, all the, like Temecula and all the Eastern California and Northeastern California let it run wild and ignore a lot of the stuff. The Devin Nunes districts of California tend to, as a form of political stance, just say we're not going to participate in the mask thing as much as we can get around it. We're going to blow it off and freedom and screaming freedom into the sky.
Dumbass.
Yeah, DUMB, and that screws with California's numbers. So you look at LA counties. LA counties are drifting down over time. They spike occasionally as people start coming in from the outside again with these in the areas where they've just let it run wild. And the whole country, we need to take a break. 773-763-9278 is our number. We'll be back right after this. But the whole country is dealing with the fact that we are all looking at a statistic that's defining when we can reopen, when schools can reopen, when businesses can reopen, when people can go safely back into public gatherings. That is buoyed by the responsibility of the blue states and the big cities that are taking every precaution, getting people vaccinated, doing all the right things, and anchored at the very same time, dragged down by the red states that have blown the whole damn thing off. And it's creating this illusion that the country is going to be stuck in COVID longer than it is, and explains Fauci's answers to the panel this week in a lot of ways, because from DC's point of view, it's America we're trying to protect, not one particular state over another. We'll be back right after this.
And it's always kind of been that way. This is just like a real visceral example.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like a illness version of the tax issue, right?
The welfare issue.
Blue states paying for the red states. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
and they don't see it.
And it's that part's just, it's maddening. It really gets infuriating after a while, because you've got
I'm kind of warming up to it. I kind of like it. It's just been so long.
Well, the idea that the red states are going to do themselves in, my problem is you really do have where the nation itself is having to act like we're all behaving the same. And we're not by any means.
Oh.
You know, and it is an ongoing issue that they just act like they're not participating in. And this idea that somehow it's the United States is kind of, and I don't know, it's an anachronism to them. They are just like, they're hostile to the idea. You know, why should they be bothered?
I don't know. New Zealand thinks we're crazy.
Oh, well, according to New Zealand, we are. Feel free to hook up to 20. Feel free to hook up to the Wi-Fi. No password, of course. Thor, the guy's back again. Call me a dickhead.
Seriously, just the introduction of the new Thor. I just rewatched that last week.
Mm-hmm.
This is Damian Perdue of Think Theory Radio, Saturdays at 6 p.m. You're listening to Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Now, as we dig into the next few months, last night I live streamed for a little bit, and we were talking. We went over Tucker Carlson's opening monologue, which I don't know if there's any Tucker fans out there that can explain to me what the hell that's trying to pass for as far as news goes, because it is. I mean, I obviously the tool that's being used there from a propaganda standpoint is conflation as evidence. And this seems to be a strategy I see on Fox News all the time, which is say something awful, just mention something awful, a tsunami, Hitler, a volcano erupting, I don't know, the third Boston record. I'm kidding. You pick something. You pick something that's terrible.
I like that one. The fourth one's a little rough.
That's what it is. I was thinking of the fourth one, actually. But the point I'm trying to make is, I'm joking. Relax. You pick something awful, and then what you do is in the same paragraph you mention something that you don't like or that your viewers are against politically, and simply by mentioning them in the same paragraph, in theory, your audience is supposed to infer, without you implying it. It is, you don't, Tucker doesn't imply, he allows for the inference thereof. It's the weaponization of confusion is what I would say. Like, how does that work? Why would you do that? How does that work? He presents a false premise that something works in a way that it does not work. It doesn't actually function that way. And then he goes, how would that work? As if he's affirming that what he just said is real. It's actually how things function, and then acting confused that why would you even do that? He furrows his brow for a living. And so in watching that, there is a sort of stream of consciousness gibberish to what he's talking about. It kind of reaches for everything, which over the course of a news show, when you're dealing with multiple topics or a live breaking news thing comes up, that I understand. I get that, right? Because so you get handed a piece of paper, you get a reporter or a producer in your ear, in your IFB telling you we've got to go to a piece of video. That kind of stuff. That happens all the time in the news. I'm fine with that. But in your opening monologue, you've crafted the show, right? You know what's coming up. You know what you're talking about, right? This is the idea that this is what we're discussing tonight. No matter what happens, our primary story for the night and what we're covering, is yada yada. And increasingly, it is simply the reiteration of cancel culture being the root of all evil in this, and by the way, never really bringing up the fact that all shooters are trying to carry out their own form of cancel culture. That the death penalty in and of itself, as our dear friend John Fugelsang brought up recently, is indicative of cancel culture. That that bans on travel from majority Muslim countries that we believe are full of evil people, according to the Republicans. That would be cancel culture. You're canceling their flights. And in many ways, for all the thought that they were trying to, that the Biden administration, by not taking seriously the babblings of Rudy Giuliani, were trying to cancel the votes of 74 million Republicans, right? Or Trump voters. I don't know that they would all qualify as Republicans right now. They're all seeming to turn on the Republican Party. And by the way, I'm for it. I have no issue with that whatsoever. But there seems to be an incredible double standard in terms of cancel culture on the Republican side. They are effectively trying to, is there a better description for how Mitch McConnell governed the Senate? The House passed a multitude of bills, and they were effectively canceled, banned from the floor. Anonymous holds and direct holds by Mitch McConnell would effectively, I think, qualify as some form of cancel culture, right? Yeah. I mean, never mind the fact that they tend to boycott everything. We've heard multiple times where they're going to, because Disney Plus puts a warning on the Muppets because there's some 1970s style comedy in there and some stuff that, over the time, times have changed kind of how we view certain things.
There's really a warning on the Muppets?
It's like a little, might not be super kid friendly, right? Because it was, the Muppet Show was later in the evening. There was grown-up
humor in there, yeah.
Yes, it was. And there's some jokes in there that you're like, oh, right, yeah, forgot. That's they were making a puppet version of Laugh In is effectively what they were trying to do. Yeah. And there was some saucy material in there, and having that, in there, we're just like, we'll let you know. We're going to let you know, this is not Muppet Babies. You're not going to park your kid in front of this, if you're, and by the way, most of the time, those warnings, can I just say for the record, I mean, you and I have been dealing with the idea of cancel culture, and having Dee Snider on the show a couple weeks ago, we talked about this a little bit, but effectively that's what the PMRC was trying to do, was cancel certain kinds of music for, teenagers to listen to. You're trying to stop this, and that's been around forever. Like conservatives fighting against Elvis Presley, he was on the Ed Sullivan Show. They couldn't even shoot him below the waist. Are we to say that conservative Republicans canceled, Elvis's pelvis? You know what I mean? So over the years, it's not been strange at all. But those warnings, let's be abundantly clear. Those warnings are not necessarily for Democrats and their children who may watch television, be engaged with their children, talk to their children with some regularity, are very open with how the world works and speak very sort of logically, and not in a total grown-up sense, but in an aspirationally intelligent way with your child. You speak with your child a year more mature than they actually are most of the time, as a way to lead them into being more mature about stuff in a healthful way over time, right? Good parenting. It's not, those warnings aren't for those folks. Those warnings are for right-wingers who park their kids in front of a TV set and want it to be the digital babysitter. And then when the kid comes in and says something like, after watching, a Madonna video and goes, what's a virgin? Remember that story? We kept hearing that all the time, that everybody knew a mythical child that wandered in and said, what's a virgin? Like, don't worry about it. We're not Catholic is the answer. But, because I'm like, you do realize they say that word every weekend in, well, you remember how he said Mary had a virgin birth? Yeah, it's about that. Don't worry about it. What's for dinner? You want some, calm down. You can handle it. It's your child. Speak to them. But the idea was that you could park them in front of it. You could just trust that the TV would just never put anything there that would offend your political or social beliefs, and certainly not open your kid's mind to anything beyond what you were trying to construct, this wall around them. And the irony that now that's the, for a long time, Jim Jordan said yesterday in an interview on Fox News, he said, we're going to, the liberals, I warned the liberals and the Democrats that, first they're going to come for us and then they're going to come for you. Dummy, they already came for us. This is them coming for you. The Republicans are behind cancel culture. The first cancel culture was all rock music and video games. Video games cause violence. It's Marilyn Manson's fault for Columbine, not the fact these kids had access to, military grade weaponry at home. It was the PMRC, all that stuff. That was the first cancel culture assault. What they're coming for the Republican Party now is coming back around. That's the whiplash of it. That's the boomerang effect. It's not coming again for Democrats in this regard, in some way. This is the return of cancel culture where it's coming home to roost for those guys. Because if you're going to shut stuff down that's normal social interaction and you're going to be draconian about it, guess what? The Confederate flag and racist memes and, soft winks and nods to sexual assault all the time, that's going to go.
Yeah.
And it's not our fault you can't tell the difference. We'll be back. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. My hair's getting to headbanging length, and I couldn't be more for it. It's close. This article, hold on, it came up. I just thought this, I can't wait for this. Hold on, it's going to
Biden.
Try it. It's Biden turning to NASCAR and country music to sell conservatives on vaccines. They're trying to use famous NASCAR people and country music stars to get people to get vaccinated. Because
that's where you go.
Yeah, it certainly it works. But Trump for the first time, where's this? Yeah, when he was on Maria Bartiromo's show, was like, yeah, they should get it. It's a good vaccine. You should get it. You get it because we did it. You should get it. Whatever. It is. That's not why we're getting it. We're getting it because Fauci and the scientists around it have looked at the data. The FDA is doing its due diligence. They're not rushing it. They didn't try to rush it.
Angle kind of makes it, sound kind of cool to me. Like if Trump has it, he did it like it's him, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he got it.
He quietly got it. It was not recorded.
Yeah. I
It just says
how hard. I was talking to my cousin yesterday. He came by and visited and brought his son over. He just got his first shot. They wore their masks in the house, while they were with us because we'd all been vaccinated, but he'd only had it once, and his son hadn't gotten his yet. So they were, we were all doing our thing in the house wearing masks. It's like that's just what you do. Just get over it. Just get so we can get on with it, right? And watching over the the people at his work, for example, there's so many of them where I'm not quite sure why other than region, but a bunch of them are just they were posting tons of memes, on their Facebook page, and Facebook page is about the vaccine. And he actually had to he had a dude that he works with who was, posted this meme, and you might have seen it, about how the vaccine doesn't actually kill the virus. He's like, it doesn't even work. It doesn't even kill the virus. And you're like, dummy, no vaccine kills the virus. Your immune system does. After it's been exposed to the vaccine, it figures out how to kill the virus itself. Your body kills the virus. No vaccine ever killed the virus. Treatments will sometimes do it.
Yeah,
because
I've seen people say why would you give a healthy person a vaccine? That's who gets vaccines.
But the dude, there's tons of these dudes, that he works around, who all, they share all this stuff, and then and he, I will say to his credit, this one dude, my cousin was like, dude, they were in a work area on Slack or something. He's like, can we do a breakout room? Can we just jump into a breakout room and talk for a second? And then he hopped over and he goes, dude, I don't want you to embarrass yourself. This is not what you posted is a lie, and it's wrong, and it's dangerous. And I know you think it's a political thing, and I know you like Trump, but, and then he went on to explain to him, like, no virus kills no vaccine kills the virus. They never have. They boost your immune system, and they give your immune system the tools to fight the virus once it experiences it. Because otherwise, you would have to give somebody the vaccine when they have it to just attack the virus, or it would just sit in your body waiting for the virus. It's not how it works.
Yeah.
It's never worked that way. All of them work. The measles vaccine doesn't kill the virus. Your own immune system does, because it teaches it's like a lesson for your immune system. That's how it works. It's how they all work. Just want you to know. And to his credit, the guy took the meme down. It had a happy ending. There was a positive story in that. Yeah. So, hold on.
You know. Right to hell.
Sorry.
Great to be with you, Dick.
And we developed just some very good friendship.
We developed some very good friendship.
Yeah, singular.
And we developed just some very good friendship.
I don't know why he sounded like he was on helium when he.
Yeah.
All I can think is that he's getting oxygen every day.
Back in 20.
Thank you.
Great to be with you, Dick.
This was the. Oh yeah, I don't know. I don't have it in here. There's so many of these.
Has the coked up Don Jr. made any appearances lately?
Yeah, guys. Oh, guys. I'm trying to butch up my voice. Thank you, Human in Training.
You're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I've had people walk out of me before, but not when I was being so charming.
Video streaming at HalSparks.com.
I don't care for you or for the putrid sludge you're troweling out.
Puss-face little pimp stick.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
Welcome back to the show. One of our chatters in the chat room on YouTube asked, does Rand Paul and others want to thin the herd? I really think they want the physically weak to perish. There is a definite streak in the libertarian world of neochristic Darwinism, which is they just believe that, somewhere between God's plan and the weak, the strong shall survive, which they always believe is him, which I don't know why looking at any of them you would believe that. That they think that's exactly what they think, that there's a certain number of people. That's why they were shrugging off beyond the racist aspect of that last year when we found out that the disease was killing black and brown people at a much higher rate. And Greg Abbott and Trump and all these like Southern white leaders were like, open it up. Feature not a bug, feature not a bug. They were like, we should, we need to open this up. If it's going to wipe out all the brown people, why not? Right. I mean, it's hard to not picture them as giddy that, we went from 1 in 1,000 black people in the country dying from COVID to 1 in 500 in 6 months. And the numbers around the Hispanic community being, the next worst. And you have to believe that a lot of these, folks, they certainly aren't doing anything to stop it. They certainly aren't really committed. They weren't shocked and committed to solving that problem. None of them immediately went to, well, this is a real crisis that we need to deal with. It was like, you can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs. There's a lot of people here in Texas who would gladly die for the economy. That story. Well, who do you mean? You don't mean you. None of the folks that said that ever seemed to be concerned that they were going to be in that pile, So I appreciate the question. By the way, we're at infotainmentwars.com. Of course, twitch.tv/HalSparks. You can become a member there by using Amazon. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you can. It doesn't cost you a dime to become a subscriber there. Helps out the show. And of course, patreon.com/HalSparks. We're looking to our new goal of 1,000. It's already made such improvements when we hit our 500 mark. It took so long that I'm hoping we can eventually make the 1,000 mark, and that would ratchet us up yet another level, and help us actually build out the gear, which is, quite frankly, how I've got this lovely road set up that we are traveling with right now. That is all due to our patrons and many of the folks who have given Venmos over the years and super chats and the like. You guys have really helped make it possible for this show to grow and to, I forgot to even put that up there, so I have to, where's that? Nope. There.
Look at that.
Ta-da. Hey, there you go.
Can I hide behind it?
Yeah, exactly. Look, just if you want to see Johnny's face, yeah. So there is, I mean, there's so much news that's coming out this week. There are a lot of stories, obviously, that are the two main stories that we're going to be hearing a lot of is basically opening stories. You're going to start hearing about the fits and starts of opening an economy and bringing people back to where they were over the next year and a half, as we try to get back to what the Moody's expert who was on Maria Bartiromo's show and depressed everyone at Fox when he said that the $1.9 trillion relief package is precisely the amount needed to get back to full employment within 2 years, and that it is crucial that you don't go any lower. Like that really bummed everybody out there. And you will hear a bunch of stories about
who was speaking the truth on Fox News.
It was this dude from Moody's. He was, an investment advisor, and they were crunching the numbers and trying to look at how what the plans would do and the like. And he came on. They brought him on to kind of shoot down the $1.9 trillion package, and he was like, "No, that's pretty much exactly the number, sweet spot. Wow. It's not too much. It's not too little. It's what you're going to need to get back to." How does
that segment producer feel after that?
Oh, I mean, you could hear the sad trombones in the background as everybody was just kind of like ran across Maria Bartiromo's face. But and Biden, unlike the Trump administration, has decided to put people in charge of watching where the money goes so that it actually goes where it's supposed to go. Because there's tremendous amounts of waste and fraud. We now know that Steven Mnuchin stacked away some of the money so it wasn't reachable. And I'm sure we'll find that it was in banks that he had direct ties with or a partial ownership of. And then over the course of, billions of dollars sitting in those banks for a few months, making a couple of percentage points in interest, that there's a kickback waiting to be had there. In the tens of millions of dollars, it would seem. So, you're going to be hearing a lot of that. You're going to be hearing a lot of fits and starts. There was a story, top of the Daily Beast today, that was literally sex parties are back, vaccines are optional, was the story of this, whatever. Yeah. I mean, you're going to be hearing a lot of those kind of stories, like what it's like to get back, whether Sturgis is going to happen again, live concerts, yes, no, over the next 3 months. Nobody really knows the timing of it. So there'll be a lot of churning in the news about whether or not it's going to happen. And I'm here to tell you, it's going to happen sooner rather than later. It's going to be more complete rather than, fits and starts by the summer. And that the July 4th thing that Biden said was him being overly cautious. Under promise, over deliver is their entire plan, so that by July 4th, they can say, effectively, there is no reason we can't have giant public gatherings right now. If you're concerned about your own health, you can wear a mask. But the vast majority of enough people have been inoculated against it. Enough people have, we've achieved some version of herd immunity. You should still take precautions. But being in a giant crowd, your chances of encountering the virus will be so low compared to where it was even 6 months ago. It will be possible. That's my personal prediction. And then going into the fall, the holiday season, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's will probably be the biggest celebrations almost anybody has seen in their lifetime, as people want to reclaim those holidays again. All the wailing and gnashing of teeth that you are seeing right now about all this stuff is going to be long forgotten when that comes. It really will. And it's something to look forward to. It's something I think a lot of us are excited about. But what the other story you're going to hear about is the Russian stories. That all the hidden stuff about the Trump organization, all the stuff that Rod Rosenstein stopped Mueller from looking into, all the Devin Nunes, Ron Johnson connecting to Andrei Derkach, all the fact that they were in direct communication, spreading Russian disinfo right on the House and Senate floor in committee meetings and the like. more of that's going to come out over the next 7 to 8 months. That's, you know, and then the secondary one was the when and if of Trump getting indicted in either Georgia or New York, and sort of the horse race around those two things. Be ready for the next 3 to 5 months. That's what's going to eat up your news feed. I'm just telling you. And especially when we find out, you know, a lot of people saw the clip of Sean Patrick Maloney talking about this, you know, that literally that Andre Derkach was mailing stuff to Devin Nunes in a package, care of the Judiciary Committee, like directly to him, not to the Judiciary Committee, like, I am this guy, I'm a prosecutor here. Anybody on the Judiciary Committee, I want you guys to know this evidence exists, right? That's what you would kind of normally do. Or you'd send it to the chairman, for, you know, as a concerned foreign citizen. I don't know. But no, not to those people, not to the chairman, not to Adam Schiff, not to anybody else, but strictly to Jim Jordan, Devin Nunes, and Ron Johnson specifically. As that stuff continues to grow, you're going to hear calls for those guys to be kicked off their committees or you know, recall efforts, blah, blah, blah. There'll be a lot of noise in that. And the crucial thing, though, will be going into 2022, who's going to run against these guys? Because they've got a lot to run against them on. Yep. That is, never have they been, you know, they were never low-hanging fruit because of their district. Now they've been knocked further down on the tree. It'll still be an uphill battle in some of these areas, but there's a real shot to be had. Those are, you know, and that's my kind of sort of personal prediction for news-wise, what we're going to see. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to check. I think we got some calls, so I want to take some of the calls about what's going on. We also know that the Proud Boys, which started as this like Gavin McInnes stunt. Well, it turns out that they were in direct contact with the Trump administration and Capitol Police. What? And one Capitol Police officer was relieved of duty for reading the Turner Diaries, the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, this anti-Semitic racist, you know, screed that's been circulating on the internet for years, at his post. We'll be back.
That doesn't seem wise.
No, it's not good. Whoa.
Yes, you have calls, by the way.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. Yes, I you know, I didn't want to assume, but
yeah, no, I meant to tell you this break. I got 3 so far.
Okay, great. Yeah, they've. I mean, the Proud Boys started out as like a lark in a lot of ways, and transformed. It basically, as it grew, created an envelope where a lot of white supremacists could kind of fall under that envelope. That was a lot better than, you know, it's a lot better to be called a Proud Boy than a Peckerwood. And so they, you know, which is one of the white supremacist gangs in prison. So they use that as a moniker. Like everybody uses an umbrella term for like 5 other organizations.
I only know that term from Animal House. That's what they were referring to?
Yeah. Peckerwood's like a you know, Appalachian term.
20.
Thank you for a tree humper.
Thanks,
Amy.
Was that Animal House or was it Back to the Future?
Animal House.
Somebody in Otis Stay in the Night said it.
Oh yeah, right.
This is Tom Hartman, and you're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide on Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT.
FBI agents have arrested 2 organizers for the Proud Boys in Philadelphia and North Carolina. That makes 4 states. While they've filed charges in Florida and Washington State, going after members of the Proud Boys there, as they basically, again, there's a real problem when you start an organization during a period when you think you're allowed, when you've got permission from the guy in charge, from the president to exist, you tend to not take all the precautions that you would if you knew, like, hey, we're not necessarily a welcome turn in the social structure of the country. Therefore, we need to keep, until we believe we can create a groundswell, we need to kind of keep what we're talking about under wraps. Well, these guys literally, like, this guy Charles Donohoe, it's hard to say. Donohoe. Yeah, Donohoe. I'm going to call him Donohoe. He was on Telegram, and which is one of those, like, it's almost encrypted, but not. Like, you can't almost it. This isn't horseshoes and hand grenades. If you're talking about seditious acts of violence, you want to go straight up, rice paper, backwards lettering, third, Drogon's decoder wheel with that. He wrote on here, we need to stop fighting Antifa in the streets where the cops are and start fighting them in bars and alleys. Like, you go to the, I'm sorry, what, is there an Antifa bar? Does Antifa hang out in alleys? I'm bars and alleys. What, are they going to come down there like the Jets? Is there going to be a lot of snapping between the Proud Boys and Antifa? We need to stomp them, he wrote. We need to ruin their lives physically like they have ruined ours financially with doxing. We need to rack up their hospital bills. We need to use special operations tactics and lightning strike them. It's all very macho. We're all very impressed with the machismo here. He's the dude from North Carolina. And he got arrested Wednesday on conspiracy charges in his role related to January 6th. He's accused of conspiring to interfere with law enforcement at the Capitol, where members of the Proud Boys broke in after overrunning police. And new charges are unveiled in the Capitol attack. Prosecutors appear to be focusing on the Proud Boys as some of the riots' main instigators, along with the far-right group, the Oath Keepers, and the Three Percenters, which, those are the three main ones that they go. And a lot of these guys are getting caught, not because there's been a rise in focus, not simply because there's been a rise in focus in law enforcement to deal with them, because obviously the Trump administration downplayed severely the threat of domestic terror and the rise of white supremacist gangs and racial supremacy gangs in the country in general, curiously enough. There are, two versions of white supremacy gangs that are at the top of the list, and there's black supremacy gangs that are third on the list. And the Trump administration, in an attempt to downplay all white supremacy stuff, just kind of said, like, racial supremacy stuff doesn't matter. The Trump administration was literally white supremacist in their protection of racial supremacists, to the point where they were even protecting black racial separatists and supremacists. Think the Black Hebrew Israelites who shot the Jews in Brooklyn, that kind of thing. That's why they rank on the FBI's list as racial supremacists. And even in just kind of like not wanting to pay attention to racial supremacy, knowing full well, like a guilty man's conscience, they were protecting that as well, just by ignoring racial supremacy, knowing that they are the major part of that. Well, because the president was so comfortable playing footsie with all these groups and supporting them in a lot of ways, they were so overt in their conversations leading up to the 6th that the arrests and the cases are incredibly revealing in ways that before it would have taken years to round up, KKK groups and the like, because of how subtle they would do things. These guys just felt like the leash had been taken off, and they could just do it. I mean, many of the QAnon people who attacked the 6th thought that they were they were told by the president to march down peacefully and patriotically. But if Mike Pence doesn't do his job and they don't allow the real electors, we need to stop the steal. That's exactly what it was. Like, these were directives. Go down there and stand and wait, threaten them, basically stand there as a show of force that if Mike Pence doesn't do what Trump wants him to do, and the rest of these folks don't, if he doesn't do it, that if the Republicans aren't able to stop it, which there aren't enough of them to do, and they knew that, then it's going to be up to us, right? And they all spoke about it like, well, I mean, if you think that the president is leading a fight against a satanic cabal and these are the end times, is there really a reason to, brush the snow over your tracks or cover them with leaves, on your way? No, because you think it's, I mean, these people are behaving like this is part of the rapture.
Yep.
So anyways, I do want to get a call before we get into the first break so that I don't blow past all of them. But this is one of the upsides and why you're going to see a lot of news about these cases, both the White House's conversation during Trump's time with the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, and the 3 Percenters, and Russia. All of that's going to be coming out over the next 6 to 10 months. Trump has sat down for interviews for 10 books in the last 2 months. 10. And this guy can't stop talking. And not all the books are friendly. He's just talking to anybody because not having Twitter is driving him crazy.
Yeah.
So all of this stuff, the truth will be revealed, and increasingly it is coming out. And in years past, around the Kennedy assassination, or which is kind of the opaque version of a historical event where we still don't know all, where versus the Nixon stuff, where it slowly trickled out, and it took him a couple. I mean, he got reelected while it was going on, and then he ended up having to step down, and it still took years for people to recognize. Like, we didn't know who Deep Throat was until 6 years ago, 8 years ago, whatever it is now. Because everybody was meeting in parking garages, with a man smoking cigarettes and speaking in person or passing physical notes that they destroyed. The problem was for the Trump administration and all that crowd is that while the Russians are good at that kind of stuff, the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers and the QAnon crowd, they didn't think they had to. That's the extraordinary part of it. These guys felt like, and this I think ties to the guy who shot up the Asian spas in Georgia, and this dude who went up and shot at the National Guard with paintballs, and that he had a. By the way, when they arrested him, he was released. Couple days later. Yeah, he was released, even though he had all these plans and he was he had weapons in his car and stuff. And they went to his house and they searched his house and he had armor-piercing bullets and all this stuff. They let him go. Well, yeah. Well, 2 days later, the feds showed up at his door and went, "Yeah, you can't be out here. Come with us." He's in federal detainment right now, waiting trial. Yeah. So he's not out and about. But the locals in Wisconsin took him in and went, "Go home. Sleep it off," essentially. But this guy thinks he has a mission. He went to D.C. and did this. Then he came back and shot at some National Guard guys, even with paintballs. We're going to find out there was vinegar or acid in the paintballs. At some point. So these guys feel like, and this is effectively the legacy of the Trump years, and it is already starting to wind down. You're seeing a bunch of this.
I hope so.
But what you saw was the permission that they felt like, for the first time in their lives, probably, for many of them since, Goldwater ran, I guess, in that time period, that not only were they allowed to do it with a wink and a nod, but they were expected to do it. That in many ways, a lot of them believed they were sent by the president, that they were ordered to do it. That the president was sending messages to them by quoting little things from Q and all these things in his speeches as a way to kind of edge up that crowd. That meant that they were all duly deputized in his fight against the Satan cabal. And they believe it. They're all in on this stuff. It's incredibly dangerous, and it is the most, it's the most like Jim Jones going nationwide experience we've ever had in this country. And it is something that, we're going to be cleaning out for a few years. But luckily, like I said, because they felt there was there was a heads to this tale in terms of they were so overt, it's way easier for law enforcement to go after them. And the feds are now the ones who have to put them in jail because all the locals are just letting them out. And you wonder why they thought they had permission. They go in, they get a slap on the wrist for basically what was an assassination plot. So let's grab this caller real quick. Who do we have first?
All we have left now is Peter from Chicago.
Oh, well then we'll wait until after the break because Peter's going to want to talk. We only have 2 minutes. So let me hold on to Peter till we get back after this, and because we know that Peter will think that I'm cutting him off, not the fact that we have a hard break at the half hour. I'm feeling if it's the same Peter, and I seem to think it is. But over the course of this storyline, we'll also talk about this a little bit. I have no doubt as well. Thanks to one of the chat people for bringing this up in here, but. Former senator in Florida paid a no party candidate $40,000 to basically run as a spoiler in a campaign, straight up electioneering down there. Details surrounding a political whodunit involving a former Miami GOP state senator, a mysterious no party candidate, and an alleged scheme to sway the outcome of a key federal Senate race came pouring out Thursday in a 25-page affidavit. The alleged campaign chicanery involved early morning Facebook messages, incriminating text messages, and at the heart of all, tens of thousands of dollars in documented payments in exchange for a ringer candidate to get his name on the ballot. This was a guy who, there were 2 Rodriguez's on the ballot, right? And one was Alex. He had somebody run as a no-party candidate as Alex Rodriguez because he would be higher up and he would siphon votes from the Democrat whose last name was Rodriguez, who, because of his first name, was lower on the list. And in some, in some of the voting machines, you'd have to go down to the next page, right? In this,
right.
Alex, he offered Alex Rodriguez $50,000 to run as an independent in Miami-Dade Senate District 37 race. The goal, investigators said, was to confuse voters and influence the outcome of the race to represent Senate District 37. The race pitted former TV personality Elian Garcia, Republican, against incumbent Jose Javier Rodriguez, a Democrat. Alex Rodriguez, an auto parts dealer who shares the same surname as the incumbent, ran as an independent. It would run, you'd see Rodriguez at the top and then her, and people would automatically check, oh, yes, I'm voting for the Democrat, the incumbent, or whatever, and it split the vote so that she could win. And he paid him $50,000 to run just to get, basically just got him on the ballot to run interference in this one. Alex Rodriguez, who did no campaigning, received more than 6,000 votes. We're alleging the November Florida Senate District 37 election involved crimes. Miami-Dade State Attorney Catherine Fernandez Rundle said at a press conference on Thursday, the arrest warrant states the actual amount paid by Artiles to Alex Rodriguez before and after the election totaled $44,708.03. I don't know what the 3 cents was for, but he would pay him repeatedly stacks of cash ranging from $3,000 to $5,000, and apparently whatever change he had in his pocket, from his home safe and give it to Rodriguez. He paid for deceptive political mail advertisements to promote Rodriguez's candidacy and no party candidates in 2 other key Florida races. The idea being is that they would make people think that the last name was the one that they were actually going for because they'd know Representative or Senator Rodriguez, and so they wanted to vote for Rodriguez. They may not know his first name, and since his name started with an A, he's higher up on the list. Unless they're looking, there you go. This was and this is your Republican Party. This is how they can win. We'll be back right after this. Yeah, the story is Frank Artiles and his co-conspirators knew they couldn't beat Jose Javier Rodriguez in fair election, so they rigged it. Artiles cynically targeted and used a vulnerable friend with a great name to run in the race in order to confuse voters and steal the election. And Rodriguez said, and Jose Rodriguez said Thursday that the arrest represented above all the harm to voters who went into the voting booth and saw a name of a candidate who never intended to serve. The tactics are not new, but the brazenness is unprecedented. And again, that goes to what these guys thought was okay.
Right.
Let's see if I can. Let's see if this. Okay. Let me go to here. No. That's not right. There we go. I don't want to do that. I don't. Oh, why do we go? Here we go. Hold on. Here. Stop screen share. Wow. It's not letting me choose what I'm sharing anymore. Boo-hoo. Okay, never mind. Okay, never mind. Normally, it might be the fact that I'm in Safari for this. He was saying, in all three races, these mystery candidates had no photo. Yeah. There we go. This is the one we're looking at. In all the three races, these mystery candidates had no photo for the press when you showed the tally of the votes. So Peter, I guess, is our right winger. I guess, is that who he is?
Yep.
Yeah.
You are correct. And then we got a few more callers after him. They called back.
Cool. Okay. Just so you know, if he goes off the rails or if he just becomes tiresome. If I say bye, Peter, that's the end of his.
You got it.
Because I don't need to just give him a diatribe segment to himself. It's always it's tiring. And the problem is he accuses me of stuff that other people have done. He'll go, "You liberals always," and I'm like, "When did I say that?" And he'll always go,
"Why would you just let go of Trump?"
I don't know. He's not my party's representative. I'm not the one saying he's the future of the party.
Yeah,
I'm a Democrat. I'm a Democrat. Reflect. Yes.
Back in 20.
Thank you.
Thanks.
By the way, we didn't get to wish Hal Vickery a happy birthday yesterday. We have to do that on the air. Hi, Vickery. Happy belated. Ran out of time at the tail end of my mom came in and got me for dinner. It's true. Diatribe from a dying tribe. Well done, Ash.
That is good.
I'm Dick Kay from Back on the Beat, and here is the Mega Worldwide Radio Program with Hal Sparks.
Welcome back to the show. So 773-763-9278 is our number. Feel free to call in. Who do we have up?
Up first will be Peter from Chicago.
Excellent. Hey, Peter, welcome.
Hello, Hal. How are you?
I'm spectacular, but I'll get better.
I'm going to try to give you some constructive criticism along with my comment.
Okay.
You're complaining about Mar-a-Lago, about COVID spreading there, but I haven't heard you complain about the illegal aliens rushing the border with COVID and then being shipped to all different places throughout the country.
Well, there's a reason for that, Peter. Can I answer that part of it before you move on to your next constructive criticism point? May I? May I? The people in question that you're referring to, because I've actually looked into the story that you're talking about, the people that you're talking about being brought into the country who, tested negative when they were detained, and they apparently contracted COVID while they were in the facility here. They were being moved to another place where they'll be either isolated or they have to quarantine. None of them needed help or whatever, but they caught COVID in the United States.
Are you talking about the facilities that are overcrowded with children with cages, the same ones Trump used?
No. That's a very distinct, different places. No. You started that, so you get to pick at each piece, Peter. I know you want to gish gallop. I know that's your goal. And you're good at it when nobody ever pushes back, Peter. And I know you live like that. I know you when you're sitting at your keyboard warrioring or boring people at the bar, Peter. I know you're very good at that. But if you're going to bring that up and just lay it there and act like I have to, in my silence of listening to your next point, pretend that what you said was actually true, then forget it.
I'm not saying for you to be silent. What I'm asking you to do is let me get my point out.
Well, I'm sorry. Your point was that there were children in cages, I thought, and there aren't.
which you don't want to do because you want to cut people off who disagree with you, just like everyone on your station, because you want your audience to think a certain
Well, you
way.
want to, Peter, you come in. No. Peter, you come in and gish gallop, meaning you drop 5 lies in a row, and then we're busy talking about the fifth lie, so you can pretend the first 4 aren't lies. Yeah, they are.
Are the containers overpopulated down on the border?
They're not containers. There are 9,600 kids. There are 9,600 unaccompanied minors that are being dealt with. They are placing them with either DHS is placing them with either family services or trying to find relatives for them. 9,600.
How many did you say were down there?
9,600.
9,600.
Yeah.
Okay. That's just
unaccompanied
children.
minors. Unaccompanied minors.
And they're stuffed into a facility that holds, what was it, 300 or 700?
No, they're spreading them. No, they're spreading them out. They're not all in one facility. Where did you get the idea that they're in one facility?
And they are.
How small do you think the southern border is?
If you are not even going to acknowledge that they're overcrowded, then you're.
They are overcrowded. They're dealing with it. It's a surge of them. But here's my question. The Biden administration has surged a group of people to the border to deal with these kids and start finding places to put them or deal with trying to return them home if indeed you can find or contact their parents on the other side of the border. We know, between you and I, Peter, we know that 8,800 children during the Trump administration were dumped, unaccompanied children, in Juarez and other cities controlled, we know, by cartels, just dumped there. They didn't try to get them back with their parents. They just dumped them there. They're unaccompanied minor children taken in the United States. And Donald Trump said, and Stephen Miller said, and Peter, the caller from wherever you are, said that they're not our problem. So we will dump children unaccompanied into Mexico. That's not our problem. That was the response. We are dealing with that influx. You add that 8,800 children who were dumped by the Trump administration, that volume of children, to the normal influx of children, which is somewhere between 1,200 and 2,200 to what normally comes into the country. You add those up and you get about 9,600, which means that aid organizations, NGOs, and others were protecting these children with no parents, orphans effectively at this point, that were brought in, that came into the United States. They were protecting them as best they could. Obviously, we lost about 800 to 600 during the Trump administration, but you don't care about them. They're Mexican children. What do you care? So now we're dealing with them. Yes, there's overcrowding, but the option under the Trump administration was push them out. They're the same children. They're the same children.
What the left always does, you called me a racist because you said
I didn't call you a racist. I just don't think you think that you don't care about them.
By saying,
Peter, why wouldn't I assume that about you? What have you said that would make me assume otherwise, Peter?
Why don't you let me talk now, Hal?
Okay.
I'm going to imply something about the left, okay?
That's surprising. You always imply things about the left, Peter. Do you have another job?
No. See, here you go. You're just going to cut off. Hal, you just implied that I'm a racist, just like Dick Kay called me a racist. And when I proved him wrong, he didn't even have the guts to stand up.
How could you prove him wrong, Peter?
Because he said he was going to find the tape where I said something on his show, and he never did. In fact,
well, that wouldn't prove you're not a racist. That would just prove that you didn't say what he thought you had said or somebody else said you said. That doesn't mean you're not a racist. That's not proof.
No, you want to let me finish?
Why? I did.
And I went down. I'm sorry?
I did let you finish. Go ahead.
No, you didn't. Now, look, your lines were packed when I tried to get in. It took me a good 20 minutes to get on the phone lines. Funny how
I'm very likable
on the line.
Go ahead.
Because you talk to hear yourself talk.
The service around here is horrible.
You didn't open the show. So, basically, this show is for your ego. I understand that. You don't want anyone to talk and have a conversation. You cut people off. That's fine. Your show, your rules. I understand it.
Well, thank you. And you're saving me money on shrink bills. It's good. But
that would be like me saying that you're a child molester because you're not questioning the political people who have been associated with Jeffrey Epstein, like Bill Richardson. And,
like Donald Trump?
And
like Donald Trump?
Donald Trump was right. I don't care if he did it. He's a child molester, but there's no proof out there.
Have you, Peter? You listen to my show. Yeah, Peter. You listen to my show, right? You've heard my show before. You've heard me say repeatedly, I don't care. If anybody is found to be a part of that group, they're gone, done. I don't care what party they're in. You've heard me say that repeatedly. So where I haven't heard you say is, here's what I haven't heard you say, Peter, like since you started this whole conversation about the surge at the border. What do you do? What do you do with 96? What do you do, President Peter, with 9,600 unaccompanied minors? Where do they go? Where do they go? What do you do with them?
That is a. Okay, are you going to let me talk, or is this just going to cut me off again like you normally do? Look, it is a problem. No one is denying it's not a problem, Hal. But what you don't do is you don't get on the airwaves and say the borders are going to be open. And
they're not open.
Let me ask you this.
They're not open. The borders are not open. Peter, their spokesperson, their spokesperson literally came out and said the borders are not open in English and in Spanish.
Yeah, okay. A lot of good that does. When you say
Peter, right-wing groups are taking out ads in South American papers saying the border is open.
Good.
Right-wing groups.
Show those to me, Hal.
Right-wing groups.
Show them to me. Who are they? But let me ask you a question, Hal. You're a father. How
Yes.
old is your son?
Elementary school.
Okay, so he's what, 8, 9? Now, if you take your child and throw him out your door and say, go down to the park that's a mile away, chances are you might get arrested for child abuse or at least child endangerment.
Sure.
People in Mexico are kicking their 3-year-old and 4-year-old kids out the door to say, go to America. We take them in, and then you guys bitch about, oh, we got to find their parents. Why would you?
Is that how the story works out? I mean, I don't speak Spanish, Peter. So yeah, no, I don't speak Spanish, Peter. So I haven't read all the Mexican papers that have the clearly overrun with parents in Mexico kicking their 3-year-olds out the door and telling them to walk to America.
Really? So you don't see 3-year-olds down there in this crowd of children, Hal?
I don't look for them in particular. There's a variety of ages.
Well, wait, no, you don't look for them. You just got to watch a video. Oh, wait, that's right. Joe's not allowing any media, which is you, and which is everyone else in the left wing. Why aren't they screaming about not getting access? They screamed about it with Trump, and Trump let them in. Trump was transparent.
Well,
and why aren't you questioning Joe Biden's mental stability after he tripped on?
So that's where, because I'll tell you why. Here's, you want to know why? No, Peter, you can't jump around again. You're gish galloping again. Here's why I don't question.
The Burmese executives. So this Burmese, they say, pronounce it Burmese. To me, Corona means Italy. Free healthcare for illegal.
Yeah. So that's pretty much. I mean, obviously, there were things. Not everything Trump said was.
We're going to be appointing very pro-crime judges.
Obviously,
Michigan gave us Motang.
There's obviously lots of reasons why I would question.
What I want to say, no, Joe Biden is fact.
They're not allowed to be offensive, unfortunately.
Peter, I appreciate your pro-Trump ADD, but we're at a break again. And here's what I would do is please.
Keep talking about Trump because it's going to get you somewhere. I mean, give me a break. Talk about what's current, Hal, not what was. And you might be a little better in your.
Have you been listening to the early part of the show?
Didn't you with Mar-a-Lago?
Didn't you? Yeah. Did you start the call? Yeah. Didn't you bring it up? Aren't you the one calling to defend Trump all the time? What else would you talk about, Peter? Bye, Peter. So thanks very much for the call. We'll see you guys after the break. That was an adventure. It's always fun.
Where's my hand sanitizer?
Yeah, I'm gonna immediately. I've got to leave the show right now during the break and drive down to the border because apparently I will be denied access at the border. We'll be back right after this. More of your calls, 773-763-9278.
So then does he take this call and use it as fodder on some message board, or like
it has to?
What? I made the mistake of wondering what the rest of his life is like.
Yeah, it's I'm trying to find he's going, oh, I see. Now I know what he's talking about. The Biden administration is limiting what Border Patrol agents can say to the media. That they're not limiting the media's ability to go in there or whatever. They just can't go up to the agents and say that the agent is giving, remember the groups of Border Patrol agents under Trump that would, stand there at the wall with him and, glad hand stuff. Those guys are not officially spokespeople for DHS or the Border Patrol. So they're basically saying, look, you guys don't know what the strategy is. Tell them to talk to the press office. You're in your official duties. This is what we talked about this a couple nights ago on my live stream about how if you roll up on a murder scene and there's detectives there and CSI and there's patrolmen around the edge keeping the public back, and you walk up and you go, hey, what's going on here? They'll go, nothing. Just go ahead and get out of here. That's not an accident. That's not because those cops are jerks. It's because there's 100 reasons why we're not going to tell you what the details of a crime are, because we're investigating it and we don't want the criminal to know what we know and what we don't know. So go away. And secondly, I don't know. I'm just here to stop traffic. This is my job right here. I don't know why they're cordoning up, why they're going into the house across the street, not that house where the murder happened, why they're also in this one. I don't know yet. And it's not my job to know. So stay over here. My job is to keep you back here. So this is the Biden administration is restricting the information Border Patrol agents and sector chiefs can share with the media as a surge of migrants test the agency's capacity at the southern border. That's what they're talking about. So the agents themselves, aren't the official, it's the same thing about what you can and can't post on your Facebook page.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
coming back in 20.
Thank you. Meanwhile,
welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. It's now time for the happy ending. Yay!
Welcome back. In 2018, when Trump started his whole gathering, what was I've now blitzed on the name of the policy, which is such a beautiful thing. I don't care so much anymore. His zero tolerance policy, the Stephen Miller zero tolerance policy that they were pushing, right? Before they put that in place, in 2018, how many migrant children, unaccompanied minors, in 2018 alone, were they expected to take in at the border? Do you have a general idea? Do you have, Johnny? Just if 9,600 is a crazy number, what was the pace number for 2018 without COVID and all the other stuff and dead parents in South American countries and relatives sending the kids up?
Minors at the border just breaks my heart. I can't even imagine the acceptable number.
It wasn't an acceptable number by any means, but considering all the wailing and gnashing of teeth of Peter and the people like him, you would think the number would be less than 9,600, right? Right. That 9,600 is the most egregious thing you've ever seen, and there's no way to deal with it, and we don't have facilities even to deal with it. We do have facilities to deal with it, and while there's crowding there, there's not overcrowding there, and they need people down there to process and put these kids with, in foster care or in child services or something while they deal with them, right? In 2018, the number that they were on check to have in detention, relatively permanent detention, stuck there, you know what I mean? Because right now it's the backup of getting them out, because a lot of them are getting out, but it's this constant rollover. The number was 19,000. Almost 20,000 kids in 2018 alone, unaccompanied minors at the border in 2018. And that's without COVID killing off a bunch of parents or killing off the earner parent or both, or any number of other factors that asylum seeking parents on their way up getting COVID and dying on the trail, that kind of stuff. All that aside, in 2018, 19,000 unaccompanied minors were going to be in detention, not just crossing the border, because like I said, it's a rotating number. 60 to 90 days, they're getting the older kids and the younger kids placed and getting them out there. They're going to have 19,000 before the reversal policy, that the zero tolerance policy that the Trump administration did. And keep in mind, they dumped 8,800 kids over the border, just forgot about them. Just forget it. They're not our problem. Just here's the gate, go. And then, we have somewhere in the order of 611 kids who still haven't been replaced with their parents. They had, over 800 missing, flat out gone from the system. No trace of them whatsoever. But please tell me about the Democratic satanic pedivore cabal. I don't remember a Republican Democratic administration disappearing 800 Mexican minors, South American minors, over the course of their presidency in less than a year, by the way. I don't if there was one, please let me know. If sometime during the Kennedy administration or Carter or Clinton, there was they had 900 kids. They just couldn't find them. They didn't bother. 19,000. That was the number during Trump 2018, after, a year of his policies. And what was his answer? What was his solution? His solution was just everybody who comes across the border is committing a felony and therefore it would not ever be eligible for citizenship, even if they later make an asylum case and say, I deserved asylum and I was underage at the time. This was their attempt to kill DACA. And we heard, of course, Jim Jordan and others are talking about the bills going through to give DACA recipients a path to citizenship and finally codify the DACA bill, as the Democrats want to give 3 million immigrants citizenship. That's how they're framing it in their conversation. They will occasionally say the Democrats want to give 3 million immigrants in the country citizenship. That's their way of easing off the lie. So it doesn't, that what they want to infer, or allow for the inference thereof, what they want to imply, semi-accidentally, is that the Biden administration is going down the border and going, we need 3 million Mexican and South American immigrants in here to puff up the Democratic numbers for 2022. We're going to send you to cities where we can raise the vote, by making you guys citizens. We're going to give you amnesty in a couple of years in time to guarantee us. That's the storyline that's going around in all these places. That's what Peter, has been sold. That's what all of that crowd is selling. But for the 9,600s, the challenge that's happening at the border, as they are phrasing it, and the idea that there's an open border, which there is absolutely not. And as a matter of fact, the ambassador to the southern border that Biden put in place, literally at her press conference, said the border is not open, and in Spanish said the border is not open, and had all their the ambassadors for the South American companies telling people on television in those countries the border is not open, what you're being told. Meanwhile, travel groups and coyotes are putting ads in newspapers saying the American border is open, funded largely by right-wingers who are trying to foment this crisis so they can point to Biden and say it's their fault. Some of the right-wingers are in our country. Some of the right-wingers are down in their country. They're trying to get out the voters that would be against them. The pro-democracy voters, the pro-democracy people would leave, if they left the country, it makes it way easier to, codify your dictatorship. So we got a couple minutes left. Let's grab one last caller to get this out. Yeah. And then
Steve from the Gold Coast is up.
Oh,
next.
right on.
There you go.
Had I known it was Steve, I would have given him a little more time. Hi, Steve.
It's all right, Hal. I'm ashamed of you, though. How dare you assume that your voice takes precedence on a show called the Hal Sparks Radio Show? That's just ridiculous.
Program mega worldwide. And to dare say that it's ego-based. My God.
Yeah, but it's wonderful to listen to him, because, as you said, he throws everything against the wall and doesn't give anybody time to respond to anything, hoping you'll just jump to the next topic.
Right.
And, typical Trump-esque style, hopefully nobody will notice that I didn't offer up any proof for anything I just said.
Right.
And that it's easily discredited. But,
that's what a Gish Gallop is.
Let him on.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. You let him on and, you let him have his say. He doesn't want to have a conversation. Instead, it's just move on from one thing to another. It's like a giant QAnon fest. conspiracies with regard to what it's about. Okay, well let's talk about the kids at the border. No, let's talk about the pedophilia. Okay, and let's move on to
Epstein, then dementia, then everything, and then end with why do you always bring up Trump, even though everything he said is in defense of Trump the entire time. You're like, absolutely.
From everything that you heard on Fox or AON this past week.
Yes.
Throw anything up against the wall that you heard. But like I say, I give you credit for taking the call. Not everybody would.
Yeah. I got to say, Steve, it's tiresome. Sometimes it's like today is kind of amusing. Sometimes it's tiresome just because I don't mind answering each of those. You know me, I could do a whole segment on every single one of those things. But what the goal is and what a Gish Gallop is, and for anybody who doesn't know, it's a debate tactic that actually in a normal world would make you lose. It is where you splat out 9 lies in all the time that you have to speak, and the response from the other person, they really are only going to have time in their response to deal with one of the lies with any depth. And in a debate, most of the time,
and you're hoping to remain right. And you're hoping that the remainder of the points that you made are somehow internalized for the people listening.
That's exactly right.
Respond to those other points. Therefore, they must be valid. No, they're not valid. We can talk about them one by one if you're willing to.
Right.
No, you're going to jump to the next topic. But
absolutely appreciate.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, appreciate it, Steve. Thank you so much. We're out of time, and we'll talk again next time. Every Saturday, we're here on the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide, and I will defend to the end of my days Dick Hayes' right to call Peter a racist, because I mean, what more proof does he need than what Peter says? So we'll be back next weekend. Everybody else, you can like and subscribe to the channel on all these things: YouTube, infotainmentwars.com or nudesmax.com. You can go to it. We'll bring you to the website. You can like and subscribe there, or twitch.tv/HalSparks, or please think about becoming a patron, patreon.com/HalSparks. Stick around. We'll see you next week.
The history of Air America lives here.
Good show, Hal, Johnny. See you guys next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much. Cheers. Bye.
We're back.
There you go. Okay. Like having all 3 browsers open like right before the show, and then having the audio not going to one of them all of a sudden was kind of screwy. I'm not quite sure why that happened. So I was literally shuffling, like, because I can't do the restream thing like what I'm doing with you, like on here through the website. I was like, I'll do it through here because I can count on the encoding a little better. And it's a little safer having you come in on that rather than try to Skype you in and eat up whatever bandwidth that I use going out. So that's a tooth pull that I'm gonna have to figure out in the future, like my workaround for this. But you did it. I think this might be the way to do it. But I mean, any man who can, like, I'm like literally logging into other like pages on websites. I'm going, okay, this one has to open, this one has to open, this one has to open. Meanwhile, keeping Chicago and talking for, the first 9 minutes of the show going, it was reminiscent of the old show. This show needs more Peters. It's kind of fun sometimes. Let's see, Johnny, did you send your download to Dean, he said. No, I'm sending that to him. So there you go. But I also want a hard copy too. So if you have a hard copy.
Sure. Who's Dean?
Yeah. Yeah, he meant D.
Oh.
Yeah, right. I think it's one of those, like, your autocorrect issues or whatever.
Oh, probably.
So, he's been calling in for months, that Peter. Yeah, he calls in quite regularly. Yeah. And you have to understand, Peter's kind of racism is the kind of invisible racism even in himself. He doesn't think of himself as one. He just doesn't like some people. He doesn't recognize the pattern in it of why he doesn't like them, and who he seems to not like all seems to fall into the same category. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of that going around. I don't necessarily write him off as a straight up, Klansman in that regard. I just think he has a high ick factor, and, there's a tie between certain people, like Trump and other people like that, where they're easily disgusted. You ever see that? You know, they like easily grossed out by conversations, you know, about, you know, bodily conversations, or, you know, you can't, they're the kind of people, if you talk about, you know, surgery or, you know, or something awful like that, they'll get creeped out about it. There's the ick factor and the inability to talk about those kind of things correlates highly. It's not, you know, 100%, but correlates highly with, you know, right-wing beliefs, because they easily get grossed out. And that translates into, it's not just that they don't like people of other races, it hits them in a visceral way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like some of us might not, you know, and that's,
I also
you know,
like how
they don't.
unimpressed he was with the phone service. Like he was taking that personally.
Right. Yeah. I mean, well, the other thing too is that he wants, you know, again, he just wants to come in and bulldoze with a bunch of stuff. And if I don't let him bulldoze,
minutes to get through. I'm sorry, Peter.
Yeah.
It's a call-in radio show.
And then tell me that my ego is too big. I'm like, yeah, man, my lines are full. What do you want? Very popular. That, you know, I tried to lay that joke at him, but he was just, you know, in his own space. Oh, God. But, you know, this idea of kind of verbally ambushing people with nonsense, and then when they call you out on each point, which I like to do, I'm like, all right, let's deal with that point. Then we'll go to the next one. You know what I mean? You'll get, you know, his idea is like, get all the way to Biden's got dementia, and then why do you always blame Trump, and then hang up, and then, you know, 9 things after, all these facts or whatever.
Somebody Amy named one of their calves after Camden.
Aw, thanks, Amy. He must be adorable, beautiful. Hype train. Yeah. I also have to, and today I was, because of all the other stuff, I had my, the website, I normally have like the chat websites up on my iPad so that I can look at each of the different chat rooms and kind of help moderate and those kind of things, or see when we have like Twitch, you know, type stuff. And it's just, it's a lot. I have to say, it's like one, yeah.
I'm sorry, I was going to say, I put someone in timeout because they just kept saying, hey, Hal, there was an earthquake in Japan. Is that China's fault? Hey, Hal, I farted. Is that Russia's fault? I was like, okay.
Oh, I see. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You can do that. That's fine. Level 1 hype train, though, right there. We're at 88% on this one. There we go. Now I got it up on here. Anyways, while I was panicking, I was literally downloading the apps for the other things in case the websites wouldn't be up. You know, so yeah, it's been a tall order. There's like, there are tech days where I'm like, as I go back out on the road, I'm like, look, I need to have this nailed down so that I have to think about it as little as possible. I don't want to go back to the days when I was like, why I want to, there's a wire, I'm missing a wire. Like, oh God, the stuff I used to go through. And so hopefully we're past all that for the most part, fingers crossed. But I started downloading Hype Train. I started downloading the apps that go for each of the websites that I'm on. And hopefully, we're able to get it somehow abnormal, I guess, I think, maybe. So that even if the websites die now, I have the apps on here so I can check in with the chat room, and now I can actually see that we're at a 94% on the hype train, and we have 4 seconds left. 3, 2, we're gonna miss it. It's not gonna happen. Womp wah. We missed the hype train by 6%. But that's okay. I'm just glad it's up and working. And wow, I did not realize we had as many followers on Twitch as we did. We're up to 3,600 followers on Twitch. We don't have that many subscribers. We need to do more subscribing, obviously. But that's pretty great. That's awesome. So thanks for following. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'm going to sign off now and go play with my kid. And we're going to go on a golf cart ride and probably go over to the clubhouse here and have eggs.
That's awesome. Oh, so and I get the next bull calf is going to be named after me. So thank you, Amy.
That's makes so much sense. You should have bull. I'm just saying that, like, that makes a lot of sense to me. There you go. I'm trying to, like, this wood background. This is better. That's better. That's more us. There we go. Cool. Well, you guys, thanks for being patient today. And I know the show started a little bit late because I was trying to finagle and shift websites and make stuff work. Next time I should have it up and running fairly smoothly. I'll be back.
Mullion.
I know. It's what? Johnny Mullion?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well done, Carl.
That's, yeah.
Hey, I'll tell your father I said hi.
I will indeed. Dad.
Answer me.
Hey, Dad. Dad.
Yeah, Dad.
He's upstairs. He's deaf as a post now, you know, because of his injury. Yeah, he fell in. He was hunting, fell in a snowbank, because they were on uneven ground, and he put his hand out to stop himself, and it was just snow and not ground, and he went further than he thought, and a stick went straight in his ear and punctured his eardrum. Yeah, so my dad has, his dad, yeah, come on for a second. We'll get him. I want him to say hi to you. At least once before he comes, because I don't know that you've seen him in a long time.
No.
So, yeah.
How many years do you think it's been?
15. More?
Maybe more.
25?
Maybe 25.
Holy smokes. Yeah. My dad, I'm in my dad's office while I'm shooting, while I'm doing the show here and stuff. And so hopefully he'll be able to, make it down here and stuff. I don't know that
I swear,
the
if
dogs
an accident trying to get in there, I will never forgive myself.
No, he's fine. Have you tried Restream with another service to see if have you tried Restream with another to stream on multiple platforms? No, that Restream works really well. It's just which website. It works with Chrome. It's supposed to work with Firefox as well. It's supposed to not work with Safari. And the problem with Safari, there's just a couple of things it can't do. It can't play that startup video with the weird space music, stuff like that. There are elements that it can't do. Ultimately, if I use the RTMP stuff on it, meaning I use my other software and pump it straight into the thing and bring you on as a guest on here, it won't take effort on my computer's part in theory, and I can still have my regular screen up, which is cool. So that might be the trick. So hopefully. Is he coming? I can't hang on to these people forever. So, my mom came in and said hi yesterday in the stream. So, yeah. And by the way, in our moment that we're waiting here, I want to wish Hal Baker a belated happy birthday. We were going to sing happy birthday at the end of the show yesterday, and then I got dragged off to dinner and totally blitzed it. So happy birthday to Hal. Happy birthday to Hal. Happy birthday to Hal Vickery. Happy birthday to you. There you go. Mom, is he coming? He's probably God knows he's probably in the workshop. So he's got one of Sam Bush's mandolins, one of his signature mandolins that Gibson did. Yeah, and it's been here for a while. And my dad plays guitar really well, and plays banjo really well, but he doesn't really play mandolin. So I picked it up a few years ago. Yeah, and I have a Jethro Burns Washburn that I play. That's really nice. It looks like it was found, under the Titanic, and it just looks gnarly, even though it's new. They did that. They made it look like his. It's a little performative, but it looks nice, or whatever. Whereas Sam's is the real deal. Like Sam's is an amazing one. My dad's had it for a while, so yeah, I think he's going to let me take it home with me on this trip and play it for a while. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
It means you got to step up your game. You know what I mean? Like my first, the first thing I learned to play on it was his version of "Girl from the North Country," the Bob Dylan song. And if anybody hasn't heard Sam Bush's rendition Girl from the North Country. The best version I like is when the live from Telluride, the Bluegrass and Jazz Fest. Huh? You can't find him? He must be outside. Okay, all right. Well, whamp. I'll make sure he says hi later on or something. He might be down with Camden at the creek. So, yeah. So anyway, so I'm gonna, hopefully I'll take that one back with me, and then. But when you're playing one that good, it's like my guitar playing had to improve greatly when I got my Zakk Wylde Bullseye, because you can't. It's like having an Eddie Van Halen guitar and going plunkety plunk. You can't.
Yeah, you got to up your game.
Yeah, you really do. So, Hal yelling, "Mom, meatloaf." So anyways, I'll let you go, and I'm gonna let everybody else go. I'm gonna go play with the kid and the dogs, and I think they went off in the golf cart. That's what they did.
Oh yeah.
Cam wanted to drive the golf cart, so my dad took him for a ride.
Let's do it while your dad's busy.
Exactly. That makes total sense. Okay, that's where they went. All right, I'll post a picture or something later on, guys. So, all right, cheers, guys. Thank you guys for hanging out. Thanks everybody for your patience during this week as I was with family. Next week, the radio show I'll be in Alameda, California, just outside of San Francisco. It may involve me driving into the city just to use the internet there, depending on how good the internet is where I am in Alameda. When I go to do the Shakespeare play, so I'm doing Shakespeare in Tallahassee, Florida. You want? Before we leave, I have to show you this.
It sounds like there's a punchline coming.
There's a what?
A punchline. I'm doing Shakespeare in Tallahassee, Florida.
So let me I'm going to show you the poster. This is very Shakespeare in Tallahassee. Let's see. Material. How do I show that's a video. So how do okay, let me do this. I'll open this up as a preview document. There you go. Okay, hold on. Allow, and I'll show this, and then it doesn't. Oh, I'll move it over here. Hold on. I gotta move this over here. Bring this up, and then I gotta switch this over. Hold on. 3, 2, 1. Here it is.
My God. Ridiculous. I love it.
I love it. I think it's hysterical. I mean, in and of itself, it's just a miracle waiting to happen.
It's perfect.
I'll post it later on. Once I think they're doing some touch ups on it or whatever, but it's meant to be an old school, Shakespeare kind of drawing. And, and if you don't know the story of Malvolio in Twelfth Night, if you don't know Twelfth Night, Malvolio, at one point in true Shakespeare fashion, thinks that, the fair lady likes him and he's awful. So of course she wouldn't. He's a jerk. Right. And he misreads this note and thinks that she likes long yellow garters with long yellow stockings with cross garters, which are incredibly painful to walk in. And so he wears them and he's just like walking like an asshole, just kind of like, she's going to love this. It's just, there's a lot of physical comedy in it. And so I'm excited for that part of it, especially. But it's, it's kind of, the timing is perfect because I kind of have the hair for it. It's like the hair is kind of at the right Shakespeare Malvolio length. So, yeah. And malware and polio was that. Oh, thanks, Amy. Yeah.
On peace.
Well, I'm trying to scrounge up a Blackadder outfit in a tip of the hat and dress in the Blackadder clothes, because they don't really, he just wears black essentially. He's got a necklace that he wears all the time, but the rest of his clothing is just period. And it would be really cool to kind of, as a wink and a nod, wear the Blackadder outfit, as far as the codpiece and the chest piece and all that kind of stuff, and the sleeves. I would love to do that as a kind of to people who know, but we shall see. So, nice. Jess got her first dose yesterday. Hooray!
Yeah, I've seen a lot of vaccine debates.
Yeah, it's great. And you know, they've opened it in Kentucky. It's 16 and over.
Oh, wow.
I think it started last week, and in Nevada it starts April 1st. 16 and over, everybody.
Wow.
I am very famous for very long goodbyes, Natalie. It's true. It's a Midwestern goodbye all the time. I know that, it's the only way I can hang on to Johnny for as long as I do. You know what I mean? So it's the best I can.
Captain's log.
All right. So I will. That'll also hang on to Johnny that way.
Michigan gave us Motang.
By the way, we have Motang T-shirts in the Teespring store now.
Michigan gave us Motang.
So we got Motang Clan shirts. It's pretty great. They're pretty cool now. So, all right, I'm going to let you go. I really am. I'll see you later. And take care. All right. Much love. Okay. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody in the chat. Thank you guys for hanging around. Okay. Bye.